Oh, finally, it's the final. Okay. My name is Hui Ping. Currently, I'm helping the Western region with some of the English volunteer trainings and then trying to send out messages for everybody so everybody can be um, notified, can be feel loved, can be feel like not left alone. So, just a brief to give you some guys. The western region cover from San Diego to Colorado. So that's about that itty bitty big. But so also Arizona, Las Vegas, like Nevada, and we have so that's why we have a lot of program going on. And then we do a lot of community service as well. But because the region is so big, so our volunteers scattering around the Southern California, Nevada, all these areas. But because of the time today, we are able to show all the work, all the great work our volunteers participated. So today I only asked for two sharing today because the time we only have like total 10 minutes. So the first one is April, and April, she will share with us her experience about her uh, charity case visit. She do a lot of charity case visit, and through that she learned a lot. And then I've seen her grown from like when I first day met her in sports arena, there's a big mega health fair. She doesn't know anything until today, and she's going to share with us her experience for the charity case visits.
Hi there, my name is April Goddard, and as you know, I volunteer for the West LA charity team in the Western region. Can you hear me? Works. And of the West LA, majority of our charity team involves domestic violence cases. And what we do is essentially visit these women who have left their abusive situations. And we visit with them, we meet with them, and assess what kind of help they need. And when you meet these domestic violence victims, it can be very, very, very sad because this women these women that we've met are in the dire phases of their lives, abused in so many ways that no one should really have to experience. I've written this essay essentially just as a guide, but I'll just share with you what it is that we normally go to. As you can see in the picture, we do a lot of work for them. Sometimes we give them help to give them like just a bus pass to get from one location to the other. A lot of them need to go to an English ESL classes. And sometimes we give them assistance in getting their life restarted by enrolling in vocational schools. So we help out with tuitions as well. And when they have really achieved the pinnacle of separating from their abusers, they then start getting into their own apartments, places, and away from the abuser and restarting life and restoring their belief in humanity. As you can see in this picture, this is somebody we have to blur the face that we've helped, whether we've donated furniture to furnish their new homes, clothes for their children, toys, or whatever. And this brings really a great happiness as a Tzu Chi volunteer to us. You all have experienced this. The gratitude that you feel, the fullness that you feel when you see that you have assisted these victims and that they have stepped beyond that. Sometimes when they share these things, as I've mentioned, it can be difficult and taxing, but they're not easy to trust, and they really do not share a lot until you tell them and share with them that you're assisting them is actually a great happiness that you can give because this is your form of compassion. And once you've shared that from the heart, they begin to trust you. they begin to believe in you, and they begin to work with you. And that is very, very, very fulfilling. Now, one of the things that I do that's also very close to my heart, um, and it's a treasured form of charity, is the feeding, giving aid like clothing and basic necessities, and spending time with my call them mine, local homeless population in Venice Beach, where I live. And as you can see in the picture, and I have been graced with the presence of Brother Johan by visiting with them, spending time with them, and sharing the Jingxi aphorism books. They love it. It's like somebody spending time with them. They're no longer invisible. And I personally give them a lot of food, but there are times when I don't have enough and I just give them like cookies. And then they start sharing with me and telling me, April, it's not the food. It's not anything material you give us. It's your presence and your spending time with us is what really matters. As you can see here, Brother Johan, me, and this is my favorite guy. That's Frank. Okay, but I haven't seen him in a bit. The local authorities like transfer them. But Frank was the first one when we were sharing the bamboo bank and telling them how Suchi was, how we do, how we can help is because of you and me contributing whatever we can on this bamboo bank. He was the first one to pull money out of his pocket. And this man is homeless. And he probably just panhandled the dime that he wanted to put in that bank. That's the reason why we all know that this kind of compassion, whether they're domestic violence victims, homeless, there's really, really hope for everyone. And I guess that is, the full of my 4 minutes. And I really appreciate you allowing me to share this, things that we're doing that I'm very, very blessed to be a part of. Thank you.
Actions speak louder than voice. So our next group, they use their action in Las Vegas. They do a lot of work. So that's hear from Father Michael, Wendy, and Joanne, how they do their recycling work in Las Vegas.
Hi, I'm Mike. This is Sister Wendy and Sister Joanne with me today, and we'd like to share with you a little bit about the recycle program we have in Las Vegas. Next slide, please. 7 years ago, Juji Las Vegas started out a recycling program with only a few brothers and sisters, recycling plastic bottles and cardboard. Over the years, they added plastic cans, aluminum cans, cardboard and paper. Next slide, please. 3 years ago, after one of our sisters noticed a lot of bottles and cans and the trash cans scattered around the parks throughout Las Vegas, she suggested we start collecting it. Now several of our brothers and sisters go around to these parks starting as early as 3 a.m. in the morning. Next slide, please. And collect the recyclables. One of the park supervisors noticed and wondered what they were doing there so early in the morning. And after explaining to them that Chuji makes blankets out of the recycled bottles, he was so touched that he's even helping us collect bottles and cans now, along with several of the homeless that lives in these parks. Next slide, please. For many years, one of our brothers has used his own truck. Next slide. Next slide. Has used his own truck to transport bottles, cans, cardboard, and paper to the recycling center. He spends a lot of time making several trips because he just can't get it all in one trailer load. The recycling center noticed the great amount of material we were bringing to them, and they've provided us with a 20-yard dumpster for the cardboard and a large cardboard box for the paper products at no cost to GG. And now with a local furniture company dropping off several truckloads of cardboard every week, that the recycle company comes by and picks up one dumpster load.
Every week, we have 35 to 40 volunteers that help sort and pack bottles and cans into large plastic bags for transport to the recycle centers. We have average 35 to 40 bags of bottle and cans a week. Also, during recycling day, several sisters and I prepared a vegetarian lunch for our volunteers after recycles is finished. Next slide, please. During the month of June this year, we saw 1,422 pounds of plastic bottles, 230 pounds of aluminum cans, 4,348 pounds of paper, 9,054 pounds of cardboard, 600 pounds of other recyclables. That's total of 15,658 pounds of recyclable material. Each month, we saw an average of $1,000 worth of recyclable. All of this money from our recycling program goes to Tzu-Chi. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Everybody know the recycling is protect the whole land. So if everyone could just set aside a couple of hours each month to help recycle things, which could otherwise be thrown into the trash. So just think about it, how much cleaner the environment and the world could be. Protect the environment is not just a civic duty to be taken lightly. So it is morally obligation for each and every one of us. So help prevent the next environmental disaster. Like our Master Zhen Yan said, if we don't do nothing meaningfully, and our life will be passed by in vain. But if we work increasingly for the betterment of mankind, ours will be a beautiful life.
We'd like to encourage all of you to join a recycle program in your area. It's good for the environment, and it's good for your personal fitness. Thank you.
Thank you to the Western region for sharing their volunteer experiences. Next, we have a very special guest. He is from the Pacific Island region, more specifically St. Martin, I believe. Hawaii, I'm so sorry, Hawaii. You've seen him before. He was introducing an icebreaker to us, and now he's here to talk more about his volunteer experiences. Please welcome Brother Alan.
Aloha, everybody. Stephanie got you guys practiced up on that one. Okay, so my name is Alan, as you all know. I've been working with the Dharma's water team in Honolulu, Hawaii for about 9 months now. And for about 7 of those 9 months, we've actually been doing regular nursing home visits every week to a place called Palolo Chinese Nursing Home. Let's see. So basically, in the time that I've been doing translation work for the Dharma's Water team, one of the teachings that always stands out to me, particularly within these nursing home visits that we do, is just that life is impermanent. Everything changes, and one day we'll all die. And when you're visiting a nursing home regularly, that becomes a very evident truth, and sometimes one that's very painful to deal with. Through my own life, I know that I've experienced certain instances of impermanence, and I'm sure that all of you have as well, particularly when it comes to the loss of a loved one, whether it's just somebody that moves far away, that you lose contact with, or sometimes they may physically pass from this life into the next. Like I said, during the 7 months that we've been working there, this has become a really painful truth that we've all kind of had to face. But when it comes down to it, how do you really face that kind of impermanence, especially on a daily basis? For us that make weekly visits is one thing, But even for like the staff and then the residents at the facility, it's another thing to know that just about any day, anyone that is around them normally could maybe not be there the next time. This being the case, we've actually done a few training sessions with the staff at the nursing home as well. Similar activities actually to what we did today in terms of gratitude, respect, and love, as well as a presentation on the 4 measurables, in order to give them the spiritual tools to be able to face these kinds of challenges on a daily basis and to integrate these values into the care of the residents. Here on the slide, actually it just changed. But anyway, this is during one of our training sessions at the nursing home. And when it comes down to it, actually, even though a lot of our discussions tend to focus on the actual care aspect, some of the more provocative discussions that we end up having are actually in the aftermath of the training sessions when the administration sits down and really even tries to figure out how to integrate these values at a structural functional level of the organization, even on top of just the care that they provide to the residents. In terms of individual care visits, that's a whole separate story. For myself, much as I feel right now, I was quite nervous when I went in for my first care visit. Going into a place like that can be a little bit of a depressing atmosphere, especially because when you've grown up on a beautiful island with the ocean, with all kinds of freedom, mountains to hike in, you get used to a certain amount of freedom, and then when you're confined to a nursing home later in life, it becomes something that's actually much more difficult to deal with, I'm sure. So within a few weeks, I guess, of having begun these visits, we actually started visiting the second floor specifically, which is the floor with patients that suffer from either dementia or some kind of cognitive decline. A lot of times you get the impression that they're there to some extent, but maybe they're not fully in touch with reality, sort of as we all experience it. And a lot of times I get the impression that these are the residents that really need the most care and the most attention, because they really don't have that kind of consistent interaction or people to kind of try to work with them on a regular basis outside of the normal care that they receive. But with the love that we've been able to bring them week after week for, like I said, about the last 7 months at least that I've been doing this, and then I know that actually Tsuji Hawaii has been visiting Palolo Nursing Home, I want to say since about the mid-90s, which makes it about 20 years now that we've had involvement with them. Through the love that we've brought the residents there over this time, we've actually begun to build really good affinities with them. Here, as the slides transition through, they may actually get to the end before I finish talking. You can see sort of a couple of the regular residents that we see on a regular basis. There's one resident in particular that I feel a certain connection to for whatever particular reason. When we first started visiting, I would always notice her sort of sitting in the TV room. She always had kind of like a soft blanket that she would carry with her and just kind of fumble with it, and she'd kind of look around, and you might try to engage with her in conversation, but there wasn't too much that she had to say that was, really sort of in touch with things. So whenever that was the case, I'd just kind of sit there and just look at her in the eyes and smile at her and nod along. I kind of get the flow of maybe what she's trying to say, and so I'm trying to be sort of a mirror for her to just reflect with herself. And then while normally the case is that there's not necessarily too much dialogue between us, there was actually one time that I walked into the room and I began to walk over to her, and she kind of looked up from her blanket, and she looked over at me, and in very, very clear words, much more clear than I had heard in any of the previous weeks, she said, "It's you!" And her eyes got really wide, and she smiled really big, and she said, "How long are you staying today?" And it's moments like that when you can really connect with that joy that you've brought to this person, and that you can then feel yourself, that it really kind of fulfills, or you sort of really realize the fulfillment that you can get from this kind of participation, and really bring that kind of positive change and light and joy into another person's life. In this kind of joy, it's not so much that we forget about the impermanence of life, but rather that we can deal with it with a little bit more ease because we know that we've brought that kind of joy to another person. And in this program, that really allows us to spend time with people who might otherwise either not have visitors or maybe not regular visitors. and it's just a really heartwarming and touching experience to be able to spend that time with them. You may have noticed at the very, very beginning of the PowerPoint, I don't know if I have any control over that, but the very, very first slide, the program that we work through at our organization is called the Heart Lotus Care Program. The flower that I put as the first slide is not in fact a lotus, it is a water lily. It was a picture that I took actually at my great-grandmother's house in Maine, and I would actually kind of like to dedicate this presentation to her because with all the time that I spend with the residents there, it just makes me realize how much more care and time that I could have taken with her before she passed. And just appreciating all of the beautiful moments and memories that I do have with her really even adds that much more depth to the volunteer work that we do. My presentation.
And thank you, Brother Alan. Thank you, Brother Alan, for sharing your experience with us. I thought it was really great that his story actually touched on some of the things that we talked about at camp today, such as the joy of giving and having that sense of gratitude when you're giving to someone else. So I thought that was a really great story, and I thought it was really appreciated. So thank you, Alan. Finally, we have the Northwest region, and I'll be giving the mic to Sally Siguna. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Northwest Region currently has offices in Northern California, Northern Nevada, Oregon, and Washington State. And with various programs conducted in English, and with our non-Chinese volunteers take lead in multiple programs. I would like to thank one person that gave us the biggest support with all this. Is our CEO, Brother Mingjin Shea. Brother, can you please stand up? Thank you very much for your biggest support. But with our CEO here, I would like to run a little advertisement for TCNW that we currently have director positions open in the following state, like Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and Alaska. That salary is negotiable, okay? Basically, it's priceless. And you have total freedom to hire your own staff. No limitation. Thank you. I know none of you are from these states. That's why I'm opening those vacancies. Maybe you should tell your friends, or maybe you should move there. Okay. Now, let's welcome two of our volunteers, Brother Eric Kawakami from Oakland and Sister Linda Hernandez from Fresno office to tell us what they have been doing in their community. Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Good. Mi nombre es Linda Hernández. Gracias. Hola. I'm here to speak about some of the programs that we do in Fresno. It's changed my life. I now walk the path of the Bodhisattva. One of the programs that we do is the Spanish class because I happen to be bilingual. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. The Spanish class is unique because I have to translate. I love translating. I translate literally. You say hello, I go, hola, ¿cómo estás? How are you? So I don't wait, but I enjoy it. This group, I have to speak of a certain case. We all have, what's the worst case? We had a case, 11 family members, 3 died, 4 of them are handicapped. 2 adult males, 1 female, deaf, mute, and blind, all 3 adults. The mother is 84 years old in a wheelchair. She took care of the other 3, deaf, mute, and blind, and 1 daughter. I thought I had problems. No. We found them beds, we found them towels. We get them support services because they don't have a lot of money and they don't speak English. They learn sign language in Mexico by the Seventh-day Adventist, which is wonderful. So now I'm learning sign language, third language, fourth language. So I learned a lot from this family. They are unique because I never met so many in one family that were deaf, mute, and blind. One thing about this family is they come to the classes and they learn the Burit Sava because the sisters translate what we're saying in the hand, or they write on their arm and they can understand the letters. So that is one way they communicate with each other because we're still learning how to communicate with them. We go over the aphorisms book and we study it, and they love those things there. The children get the bamboo banks and they bring them back, which is the beauty because they have it at home to remind them of Suchi. We also provide a meal, and they say, oh, we can go one day without eating meat. This food pretty good. My husband liked the food. Great. Another program that we do is the prison program. It was brought to us by Brother Tom, one of our brothers. We get over 300 letters. I think it's up to more now, 400 or 500 letters. These prisoners write us. The staff at the prison, the guards say, we love to work with this group of Burit Savas because they are so good. They are calm, and they have been Buddhists for many years, more than I. They make art. They make book. When you read a book, you put a thing in it. What do you call it? Bookmark. There you go. See, my English and my Spanish, I slip. So they make those, and we sell them. The prisoners do great. They teach me so many things. We have about 75 depending, and they miss us. We go once a month to Chowchilla Prison. It is the Hollywood of the prisons. Everybody wants to go to Chowchilla Prison because it's a good place to be. Thank you very much. Short of time, I don't want to bore you. Hasta la vista.
Well, Linda opened it with buenas tardes, right? That's what, good evening? Me llamo Eric, hermano Eric Kawakami. So nice to meet you again. Thank you. I just wanted to do a shout out to Brother Minjing from the Northwest Region office. I was mentioning to him at dinner tonight. Oh, thank you. Well, before the Macarena started, but I was thinking back as to how I got into Tzu Chi, what made that connection about 2 years ago. And my wife was participating in a sign language program or adaptation. And I didn't want to go inside. I said, no, I'm not going to get involved here. You know, I don't know what they're doing. It's some religious stuff. I'll just stay outside. So I would wait for my wife about 2 hours each time, 2-3 hours, and walk around. I got to know every building and business around the Oakland Road office. And I'd occasionally see Brother Minjing, real busy, walking here and there. And every time he would smile, and he'd greet me politely, and, you know, ask me if I want to come in. And I see I got a minute, so I'll get to the point. So thank you, Brother Minjing. And so have you been to the YouTube Tzu Chi English channel? Have you? Okay, good. Because we try to update that so when you have people who might want more information, you know, non-Tzu Chi members, they can go there. You know, you could just give them the link, and they can get, I think, a pretty good overview of you know, what we do, you know, as a way for recruiting purposes. And the other one is we added, Brother Greg added a Spanish playlist, so it's kind of cool, you know, in Spanish. Since I started, and I know time is pressed here, but when I first started Tzu Chi, I guess like a lot of us, you know, we go on the nursing home visits, you know, and I used to look at it like, okay, this is, you know, kind of cool and meet the people, but I was always kind of uncomfortable, you know, I'm not used to touching other people, elderly people, etc. And one day, this gentleman, we had this karmic affinity, like remember Dawu, you know, back the boil on the knee, and he would always see me, there's one of the residents, and he would just get on me, you know, every time. He'd come up to me and start yelling at me. I don't know the guy. So finally it came down to one day, he started turning the lights on and off during, you know, our event. And I said, don't touch that light switch again. And he goes, "You're going to stop me?" And I said, "Yes, I will." And he went for that light, and I blocked the light. I'll leave it at that. I went back after about a year to that nursing home because our brother that's in charge of it was in Malaysia, Brother Fu. And he asked, nobody was available to do it, and he asked me, would you be willing to do it? And I said, well, and I thought of my friend there. And I said, okay. So we were, I hadn't been there in a long time. And as we were setting up the PA equipment, the CD player, the boombox, here he comes. And this time I talk about, Saturday Night Dharma, Master, Wisdom at Dawn, Life Wisdom. I saw him and I actually smiled and I was happy to see him. And I said, "How are you doing? Did I ever tell you you look like Johnny Cash?" And he was speechless. He smiled and he left. So, in that, so I think I've learned something from Master and the rest of you. And that's how to, to deal with things using our, wisdom and being respectful and showing gratitude to him for teaching me a lesson. Okay, I'm down to 0. Thank you very much.